What's been some of the challenges for you guys building what you built?
Well, I think there's personal challenges. I think before going on to the personal ones, from a work challenge, I think the hardest thing has been raising money to be able to continue making things bigger and better.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it's a space that's not popular in the investment space. You've got businesses like Peloton that haven't done well since COVID.
Yeah.
You've also got businesses like Strava, which are an amazing business, but they don't make that much money because most people don't pay for Strava. So then you've got these investors who are looking at Strava and looking at Peloton and being like, well, the industry is not a very good business industry, even if you win.
Is that kind of where you were situated early doors?
Well, it's more that like you're an investor looking at Runna, which is a fitness business.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, right, if Runna did unbelievably well, it could be as good as Peloton or as good as Strava, let's say.
Yeah.
But Peloton and Strava aren't that good commercial businesses. So they're thinking the chance of you winning is like 0.01%. And if you win, it's not even like that good. So therefore, it's really hard to convince investors to invest, especially in the middle of this economic downturn that we're raising in.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the hardest thing we've had to do. We've had two very different VC-led raises. So we talked about the one that I said we raised £2 million at the end of 2022. We then went on to raise another round at the end of 2023 where we raised $5 million. And it was a very different situation because the business has proved a lot more. We were growing really, really fast in this second time round. Got so many happy customers, so many happy reviews. The business is economically in a really good position. During the brand's taking off. And so we kind of went from one experience of basically pleading with anyone in London to put any money into the business to then like everyone in London pleading to put money into our business.
Really?
And since then it's been even funnier whereby like we just have like amazingly cool people that like doing celebrities who come across us, train with us and say it's great. And then be like, can we buy some of your company? And we're like, genuinely, we don't want any more money and we just want to like focus on building the app.
Right, and
so it's been like a really interesting like spiral. And right now, I guess the challenge is how do we do what we've done in London in the rest of the world? So those are maybe the business type challenges. And I think the hardest one, which comes on to the personal one, is like just not having enough time and not having enough resource. Like we have so many customers out there now. And like I said at the start, when we had 100 customers, they would write in a few emails and say, can you work on this? We've got hundreds of thousands of people now asking for hundreds and thousands of things.
Yeah.
So like there's so much more for us to do, for us to build. So even though we've now got more team to provide these things, we just can't keep up. We're always the shortest resources team time. So we have to be so strict on saying no to opportunities. And as a result, it comes back to the personal challenge that I'll go on to say, which is just like, it's chaos. Like, as in like, it's so hard. As in it like, just like progress is my thing. I want to get better at being an Ironman every year. I want to do a faster time in my Ironman. I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier. I want to be stronger. And since we launched the Run Buddy, I have gone sideways or backwards personally. Yeah. And that's really hard. And to speak for that, in the investment round we had at the end of last year, so the one we raised £5 million, we probably had 2 or 3 months of extremely intense meetings with all these different funds, Australian funds, UK funds in the day, and then US funds at night because of the time change. You're working for a crazy time while also trying to keep the 20 employees that we had at the time busy and happy, running the business, talking to our customers, running events and whatever's going on. At the end of this kind of 2 or 3 months period, we get this amazing offer, we get this amazing deal, we get it over the line, and I start to get this pain in my right leg. And basically one of the discs in between my vertebrae bulged into my spinal cord. So I have this pain in my right leg, but it's all coming from a nerve in my back that's tricking me that my hamstring's in trouble, but actually it's just my nerve that's in trouble. So through October, through to November, I'm doing less and less, trying to rest and trying to get it better. In December, I couldn't move. As in, I didn't run in December. I would be like lying on my back in bed. I'd be lying on my belly, lying on the floor with a laptop or standing, and I couldn't do any of the other options.
What caused this?
So basically, sitting down too much. So I'd be sitting down for 15, 16 hours a day. I was stressed because raising an investment round feels like life or death. It's like, will they invest in you and keep the business going or not? Yeah. So it feels like life or death, even though it's not that one specifically wasn't life or death. It was like a life or a slightly different life that's not as exciting, but you can still live. But so it feels like life or death in the moment. So you're full of stress. You're working super, super hard, then doing exactly not what someone should do, which is that because I was so short on time, the only exercise I did was extremely intense exercise. As in, so it'd be like, I still do it. I do a Wednesday morning club cycle of an hour's cycling in a group, in a line behind crazy people as fast as you can. But then I would relatively not have time to do any other exercise other than cycle to and from work, which I was trying to do as fast as I could so I could get home for the next meeting or get in and so I could maximize on sleep or whatever it was. And then it would just be like meetings all day long during getting into the office, taking some calls with Australian funds, traveling around London on line bikes or whatever it is to meet all these London funds, and then talking with a few US funds, to the point where I'd even like sleep on the floor in the office a few times. So it was really like chaotic. And then on the weekend, I'm like, oh, I'm free. I can go and exercise, and I'd just be doing a half marathon one day. I'd be doing a triathlon the next day. So I'd be like, because I am so excited, I want to keep getting fitter. I'd be like trying to shove all this energy onto the weekend, and basically just the combination of all of those things together, unfortunately, meant that I had this problem, and it just gradually got worse and worse. And I had an epidural, so an injection in my spinal cord to kind of numb the nerve, which allowed me to start building up in January. So I could I did parkrun on the 1st of January this year, and that was hard and like scary. I didn't even know if I'd get round, and it was like uncomfortable, and like gradually being able to build up. And we're now at the end of April. I did the Paris Marathon a fortnight ago and got round, and that went really well. And I still have some residual nerve pain, but I'm able to run and cycle pain-free. So I can keep building up, and I'm back to being happy. But it was a really, really tough period. And I think like the entirety of not just that period, but just like balancing having this undeniable commitment to this really exciting thing, and the undeniable commitment to all of these people that are paying us money to give them this great experience, like don't want to let any of them down. And as a result, it's really hard to do anything else. So I'm addicted to running, I'm addicted to Ironman, but I'm like more addicted to work. So then I'm like sad that I'm not like feeding this addiction. And so that's like something that I've got to deal with and work on, and it's always hard.
Have you found that balance in any way?
I think we have a lot more balance, or I have a lot more balance now, but it's definitely like it goes through ebbs and flows. Like I would say the last few weeks or months, maybe I'm probably just going to mean that it just actually looking back, it just hasn't quite got to good balance. But like it goes through ebbs and flows, where sometimes it's like, okay, actually this is okay, and then like something goes wrong. Not as in like there's 45 employees. So if one doesn't pull their weight, like naturally, the people around them might cover it a little bit, but it's probably going to mean that if something goes wrong on the tech side of things, like Dom's going to be stressed because he's going to either be dealing to hire the person that we need to get or whatever it's going to be. And if something goes wrong on the non-tech side of things, like everyone else is busy because everyone else has got the same problem because the business is growing so fast. So naturally it's going to refer up the chain and mean that I'm picking up the slack. And so that's always been the case. And sometimes it's only a little bit hard, and sometimes it's really hard. Probably right now it's on the upper side of hard, just because we've had busy time of London Marathon and all kinds of different things going on. And we've been hiring for a few roles, and we haven't got them all in doing hired and trained up and everything. So we're all basically covering all the roles that we're hiring for until they're hired. And then hopefully it'll get a bit calmer. But the reality that we've seen for the last 3 years is that because the business grows, we'll then need more people, and we'll then have to hire for them. And we want to be a business that's also sustainable. So despite being a venture-backed business, which means you can grow off the money that you've brought in early, we don't really want to hire people that we can't afford based on the revenues that we're making. So we're actually not hiring in anticipation, we're hiring because we're not busy. And I think by living in that way, it does mean that it's intense.
Why do you want to do that?
I think it's just a sensible way to be on the back of kind of like all these tech-backed businesses that like lived in a completely unsustainable thing and then laid everyone off. Like we don't want to hire everyone. Do you imagine we can afford 10 members of staff based on the number of subscribers we've got? We should have 10 members of staff. Like we can probably, like the day we get to like being able to afford 11, let's hire an 11th. But I think it would be unfair to these people to have 20 members of staff paid for by Runna, knowing that we've only got a year's worth of money for them.